Welcome to Around the World in 80 Bottles. Today, we're going to continue our trip in the Mediterranean with one more stop in Greece, and we're going to do some baked eggs. This recipe is super easy. You're basically going to chop a couple components, just compile everything, and then bake our eggs. I love this because as easy as it is, it gets a lot of flavor from all the onions and the peppers and the artichokes, and everything melds together through the tomato sauce, and it looks so much more involved than it actually is. So when you're having company over for the weekend, this makes a great way to have a nice presentation without it making you go too far out of your way and have something really complicated. You can actually do this up until the part with the eggs the night before if you want to, but honestly, this is so quick to prepare that if I'm going to do anything in advance, I just chop things and then in the morning assemble. What we're going to do to start off with is to heat the olive oil. And then you're going to add your first ingredients, which are garlic, onions, and peppers. So we're going to add that to our hot olive oil. And then you're going to stir that together, and we're going to cook it for 5 minutes. I promised you it was easy. There are onions. And then you can use bell peppers or you can use a variety. I had some extra peppers because we've been using them a lot in our Greek recipes, so I decided to make it a little more interesting. But regular green bell peppers are more than fine. Or if you have red, whatever you have. Alright, so I'm going to put this back on the oven and cook it for 5 minutes. And then we're going to add our other ingredients. For our next go round, we're going to add some crushed tomatoes. And that is one of those instances where you can just use a can. And then I have a can of artichoke hearts, and all I've done is to drain that and then chop them in half. Normally I just use regular Kalamata olives, but I have a special tapenade in the store right now that became our featured item of the week, and it's got Kalamata, some other olives added into it with some capers and some oil and some peppers. So I'm going to use that instead of regular olives because I have it and it's delicious, and it's going to add a little extra flavor to our dish than olives alone. If you don't have that at home, you can use olives. And then we've got a little cumin and paprika. Cumin is really common in Greece in their cooking. I actually started using it a lot more after I went over there and learned how to cook a little bit. So we're going to add a little bit of that. And then of course, this is Spanish smoked paprika, which to me is absolutely essential. If you've never used smoked paprika, you should definitely give that a try, because it has so much more flavor than regular paprika. The smoking really makes it stand out. To me, compared to smoked paprika, the other paprika is really about color and not about flavor, and we want to give it that wonderful smoky flavor. Got a little bit of black pepper as well. Okay. Now I'm going to put that on my oven for 5 more minutes and let it get good and hot. Alright, so I've just taken our pan off the oven. We got this wonderful hot mixture. All the flavors are starting to come together. It smells fantastic, so we're definitely doing something right. And this dish is to serve 4. So what we're going to do is make 4 indentations. And so I'm just going to kind of scoop out a little spot. You don't want to go all the way down to the pan, but you basically want to have a little vessel for your egg. So I'm actually going to push up the things around it. Just making sure there's a tiny bit in the bottom. And then we're going to put our egg directly in that spot. I'm going to do this with all 4 eggs, and so I'm just going to show you what this is going to look like. So you can see there, I've just made a little indentation, and put my eggs in. So we're going to put 4 eggs in, and we're going to put it in the oven, and all it takes is 8 minutes. In the second half of that, I'm going to put French bread, and you can either slice French bread, or I took some French buns and cut those in half. When it comes out of the oven, I'll show you how we're going to assemble that. But I'm going to toast the bread in the last 4 minutes this is in the oven. Okay, so we've got a fabulous baked egg mixture out of the oven, and I put some bread in for the last few minutes. So we've got this lovely toasted piece of French bread, and I'm just going to ladle out our egg. Now if you get a large spatula, should be able to pull that right out. And then I'm going to get some of the extra tomatoes, olives, peppers, artichokes, all those goodies on there as well. And since we're doing this for 4, basically once you pull the eggs out, you can give everybody a quarter of what's left of the tomato mixture. That's pretty much a quarter of the pan. And then I'm going to garnish this. I'm using some Parmesan, and instead of using my grater, I'm going to use a potato peeler, and I can get little curls on there. Just a little bit prettier. Once again, this is a dish that looks a lot fancier than it is. You saw how easy it is, and when you make this at home, you'll agree with me. It's a beautifully easy dish. And so to do something a little extra with the presentation, like adding the cheese curls, I think is a nice touch. And then you can use fresh parsley or oregano, as long as it's a fresh herb. This is not a case where I would say substitute with something dried. So whatever you have on hand that's in the realm of a Mediterranean spice would work quite nicely. We're just going to drop a couple more little sprigs on there, maybe 1 extra for garnish. And you can see this is so easy to prepare, and it's absolutely delicious. Now, you can do this for brunch, and you can have it with coffee, or you can do some bubbly. I think this actually makes a really nice dinner as well. So a Sunday brunch, or maybe an easy dinner if you're having people over, something that's super easy to prepare at night, and everybody loves eggs for dinner. And we've put it with another Mediterranean wine. This is Quercia Montepulciano di Abruzzo. It's from Italy, and Montepulciano has big, fat, juicy flavors on the mid palate, but it's very dry on the finish. And something with that much fruit, but on the dry side, is well suited to your eggs, but also can complement the tomatoes, which can crush a lot of wines that are lighter and good for eggs. So this works really well with both elements of our dish. And I hope that you have a wonderful dinner with your Mediterranean eggs, and that you'll join us next time for Around the World in 80 Bottles. Cheers!